Hey, PGCPS family, welcome back. If you've been with us for a while, and thank you for joining us if this is your first time. I'm Roddia Paul.
And I am Shola Cargill. Welcome, family. Happy New Year. We are so excited to bring in a new season, new beginnings. Last video, we talked about doing the self-care list. So, creating that New Year's resolution. What does that mean for you? What does it look like for you? And, we're going to start off the year strong. So this month, we're going to be talking about productivity. Now, productivity, right? What does that mean to you? Think about that as we talk about this video, or think about that as we move through this video. So for me, productivity means efficiently completing tasks and really creating a list of tasks that I have to, complete, and going through the task list one by one. Now, also remembering that I do a good enough job. And that's what I mean about efficiently completing tasks. It's not putting that pressure of perfectionism on it. It's not putting that pressure of I have to, reach a certain standard. It's this is good enough. And whatever I do at that moment in time, it's my best. And by giving myself grace and space to do that, I also have flexibility in completing those tasks. So also remembering that if I have a list of 10 things, those 10 things may not get done that day, and that's okay. That's okay, because again, it's about balance for me. It's about remembering to listen to my needs as well as filling up my cup so that I can continue being productive in different ways. And really just also recognizing that productivity is not only reserved for tasks that we have to do for other people. That can also be stuff for ourselves. We can be productive for ourselves and to ourselves. And I think that's also something that society doesn't really teach us, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
I'm so glad you said that, Shola, because honestly, I was kind of thinking something similar. I'm glad that we're really talking about defining it for ourselves, because that's really important, right? So I see some overlap in what you said with my own definition, but I also have differences. So that's why it's important to talk about this, right? So for me, when I think about being productive, of course, there are tasks and stuff to do, but like my initial thought is just, do I feel like I'm able to give my whole self to that given task? Is my mind, body, and spirit in tune so I can give my all and my best to the task that I'm doing? Am I functioning at my most highest self? Do I feel my most happiest and well self as I'm doing the task? Like feeling those things, feeling good, feeling like I'm doing the task and the task is not doing me. Like that's when I feel like I'm being productive, even if I don't finish the task. When I know like I was feeling well while doing it and I feel like I did enough, I gave my all, like that is to me, okay, Roddia, you were being productive. And that's important to do, because I feel as though when we don't do that, kind of what you said, we let society shape for us what it means to be productive. And then we end up not feeling like we're ever achieving that, because we're setting unrealistic definitions for ourselves and we're comparing ourselves to other people without being honest and aware of what we're capable of in that moment, right? If you're not feeling well, if you're not feeling happy, if you're not feeling like your body, spirit, soul, everything is in tune, how are you going to be productive? So I feel like it's important, like you said, to define that for yourself. So we're going to challenge you all to do that today. Don't think about it right now, because we want you to let it marinate, in your spirit and figure out what that means to you, because that's going to make all the difference for how you feel, right? Like, why is that important though? Why do we need to figure that out though, Shola? Like, what would you say is the most important reason for defining that for yourself?
I mean, if you've been with us from the beginning, you already know what I'm going to say.
Tell them again. They need to hear it again.
We are unique individuals, so we're gonna have differences in perspectives. What may work for Roddia may not work for me, and what may work for a coworker that's in a similar industry may not work for their neighbor. So it's making sure that we're honoring who we are as unique people, unique humans, unique spiritual beings, whatever we want to define ourselves as. We are the only one like us. So we're going to have a different perspective. We're going to have a different way of living and navigating life. And the more we try to assimilate to a certain one standard of what it means to be productive, the more we put ourselves in a box and we don't allow us to open up and unlock our full potential as unique people. So, being realistic with ourselves is another way of honoring that individuality that we have. And so just, Roddia, can you say a little bit more about why it may be difficult for some people to actually get to that point?
Yeah, I think it really is going into kind of what you've been saying, Shola, about, of course, we always say this, it depends because it's individual. We've been saying that since day one, but I think that is what makes self-care as a whole hard, right? Because one, it's like taking the time to define for yourself what this aspect of self-care is, and this time we're talking about being productive as an aspect of self-care. So once we've defined that for ourselves, we're going to realize that, okay, in my definition, there are certain things I have to be able to feel in order to obtain that, right? And so let's say you've decided in the way you define it, you feel motivated, you feel well, you feel focused, you feel like you're checking stuff off, right? But those things have to be present for you to be doing it. So if they're not present, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling unfocused, if you haven't really established how to really encourage yourself intrinsically, right? If you haven't done those things, you're never going to meet your own definition, right? That's only the one step. We've always said making the list is the easy part. You have to actually figure out how to do, right? And so those are some things that we're going to really talk about within the next 3 weeks, just understanding and unpacking what interferes. And a lot of it, if not all of it, is stuff to do with your wellness. And that's why we're doing it in this series, right? What makes you feel well, and how is that connected to your ability to be productive? And that is really all embedded in checking in with yourself, right? Understanding how what you feel internally impacts how you are able to produce externally. And I think like that's really the main point of like all of this, right? Is everything that we are and do and be, it's all connected. So we're really going to challenge y'all to do that. And in doing so, what's the homework, Shola?
Yes. So for this week, our homework is to define what productivity means to you. So if you have a journal by now, if you have a sheet of paper, something where you've been compiling our notes and your journey, just ask that question as a prompt. What does productivity mean to me? And play with it. You may find again that it looks different on different days, but the more you dig deeper, the more you'll be able to pick out those pieces that allow you to show up and show out how you want to. So keep thinking about that, keep reflecting on it, because it's not something that I think, again, we're pushed to think about or we're encouraged to think about. It's something that, we're always saying, be productive and get everything done. But what does that mean to you? Okay. So last week, we talked about being non-judgmental. If you have not seen that video yet, please go check it out. Our last series was on mindfulness. If you haven't seen any of that, be sure to look that up. And also our first one was self-care. So, if this is your first time here, just do a nice little rich and wellness review. And we'll meet you here again next week, same time, talking about, more specifically those things that interfere with our ability to be productive. So yeah, and as an addition to your self-care list that you've been creating, this is also a great tool that you can add to that toolbox. All right. Happy New Year, family. Thank you so much for following, for joining, and for always putting your wellness first.
See you guys next week.